I'll begin. And
he has coffee. I bought it.
I'll begin with my subject, and you can take it up or not. And then I'm gonna ask Michael and then I'll introduce Michael and ask Michael to introduce you.
We'll introduce. You want to speak about politics? I think you should speak to Mike about politics more.
No, I don't want to talk about politics.
I'm not talking about politics.
Women in the politics.
Okay.
Yeah, it's their time. Oh my gosh, I'm so
Any
excited.
questions?
No. So you want who to introduce who?
I'm going to begin with my subject, then I'm going to introduce you.
Yeah.
And then you give a little bio about yourself, and you introduce Gabe.
Yeah.
And talk about your history. Then take it from there.
Okay. I'm
and I'll kibitz here and there.
And I'll introduce Gabe, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. I'm a professional cuddler.
Do that. I know you are.
I am.
I read that disgusting story. If you ever approached my mother, it would be the last thing you ever did.
Oh, please, calm down.
Professional cuddler. I'm a professional hater.
He's going to cut on, but he's cuddled with more than 6 women or something.
Turn down your cell phones.
I'll shut off my phone. Is this a good time to go to the bathroom?
I'll comment on it, believe me.
Life.
It'll be heard all over the place.
We're going live in wait 30 seconds.
For 20 seconds.
I just need to put money in the meter.
That's the spirit.
Is there any water?
Mike, it's good. What are we airing in 10 seconds? 15 seconds.
This is a tribute to all the dead. I'm going to start off with obituaries. They've all been here.
This is it.
8 years of obituaries. Welcome to the conversation. We're coming to you live, which is a very big risk tonight, because I have Gabe, who's from Stand Up New York Club, and I have Mike, who's a performer at Stand Up New York Club, and they're capable of saying anything. So fortunately, you'll deal with me for the first few minutes. I'm your host, Shannon Taylor. I must comment upon the latest craze over statues that is sweeping the country. I was at the University of Virginia Law School, invited there with many judges several times in the 90s. And black and Hispanic, Asian, all type of persuasions. We were on various panels, and we were surrounded by the antiquity of America, and nobody minded a statue here or there. We raised the issue of the Confederacy, of the Confederate flag, which was an issue then, of Robert E. Lee, which was a revered name and still is in American history. Robert E. Lee was offered to champion the Union Army at the start of the Civil War. He was at West Point in the North, but he said, as a Virginian, and my whole family Virginians, my loyalty is to my state. My state has decided, so I follow that of my state. His decision was respected by all, including Lincoln. He then led his army as a founder of states' rights, and for economic reasons, and others would argue slavery. And there are those like Al Sharpton that say that this was a slave master. Take it as you will. He's a revered figure in American history. He was a most honored general. And to take down his statue is to take down, well, let me put it to you. If you're taking down Robert E. Lee, who heads a university, whose name is around the country, who has generations of Americans, who was on the losing side of the Civil War, but treated with the greatest of respect before, during, and after, take down at least Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt, not the revered Teddy, but Franklin Roosevelt, who killed 6 million Jews because he could care less that they died in the Holocaust. Or take down statues of Churchill, who barred England to the Jews as of 1942. There are plenty of statues I can recommend to you, and we can put up all the statues that all the people out of work can make instead. But if you're going to riot over a statue, then for God's sakes, find some way of doing it without killing people. And as far as the Nazis and the KKK, we on this program stand first in line condemning every last one of those bloodsuckers. And I protested their march in New York City, where they marched against Jews before they ever went to Charlottesville, which I remember is the most pristine and beautiful of places and will now be remembered as the grave of a statue. And with that, I'm going to turn to my friend Mike Fine. Mike Fine doesn't want to talk politics. He doesn't want to talk about statues. He wants to talk about what?
Well, I will say thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Shannon. No, speaking about the marching, I've had hundreds, if not thousands, of Jews march down Broadway and protest me and my performances. And whenever they see me at a book signing, the Jews can't stand me. But I still love them. You gotta love them.
No, you don't.
Well, you know, it's
Just because you're wearing a Jewish star, show it with pride.
Well, it's, you know, I got it over here. And, no, but what you said, we should be taking down a lot of these statues. You know, FDR, I'm all for taking down Abraham Lincoln and
he's the greatest.
the monument. He's the worst president. He's the worst president
he was
ever.
Jewish.
And even more so, not the Statue of Liberty is another one that could go. Who wants to see that thing over there?
I like to see it. I like it. Look at the plane. I know I'll be at the airport soon. I like to see it.
By the way, this is my good friend Gabe Waldman. You may recognize him from Tinder, Bumble, Grindr. He's also the owner of a wonderful comedy club, not Gotham, but Stand Up New York, which is also
Which I still
good
can't
club.
get stage time at my own club, which is a little problem. But hey,
Gotta fix that.
Yeah.
there's a lot of. I guess there's so many comedians I can't even get on stage. But my goal is to eventually get a check spot and move up.
How did you two meet?
Grinder. And the crazy thing is we're both into women. We're not even into men, but yet we're on there. I was on there doing research for a project, and him, I don't know why, but
Well, I just get better reception on Grindr.
yeah. No, well, we met in high school. And
In 1995.
Yeah,
You're, Yeshiva University High School in Washington Heights.
yes, and we've been friends ever since. So
That's an accomplishment, especially in the world of comedy.
yes.
Not too many comedians stay friends.
And with what's going on in the world today, there's really nothing to laugh at, Shannon. It's an absolute disgrace.
I think
what's
it's
going
hilarious. I think North Korea. Did you ever wake up with a nightmare? North Korea is the danger in the world. Not Iran. Not the Middle East. Not Pakistan and India. Not some nutcase in South America. Not Chavez. North Korea. How did we get to the point? North Korea.
Speaking of Koreans, Gabe actually wrote, directed, and produced a movie involving a lot of well-known Koreans.
What's the name?
Eyebrow.
It was called Eyebrow. I did a movie, Eyebrow. I got my inspiration from my father. He had great eyebrows. But I was walking by an eye threading place. Everybody walks by in the morning, those eye threading places where you're threading,
The wax eyebrow.
waxing. And I said, how about I'm sitting there at 4 o'clock in the morning eating popcorn and watching it? And I said, so I'm going to take that, make a video outside my club, 30 chairs. I'm going to get a bouncer. I'm going to get scalpers, bootleg. Everybody's coming in just to see the eyebrow, just to see one sit out eyebrow. And I think it will win an Oscar. I also I know a lot about Korea.
Yeah,
I like my food very fresh, and the Koreans have very
Korean markets always have very fresh produce.
fresh.
Not like some of the other markets, I'm not going to mention.
Aristides, I didn't even know that it's bring your own. I didn't even know that. I'm here to shop. Like, oh, you got to bring your own fruit. I'm like, okay, well, it's weird.
Yeah.
Did you know that in the middle of all this controversy with missiles and somehow Guam stuck its neck in the middle of it all, that there was the annual South and North Korean cultural festival and concert on the border?
No.
Yes.
Are you serious?
Yeah, very serious.
Yeah. Wow. That's
And
great.
Guamians are swimming away at their resorts.
See, it's interesting because North Korea has a really bad rap with Kim Jong-un. I was a huge fan of his father, Kim Jong-il. Kim Jong-un, though, he's like off the reservation with all his antics and jokes. And I remember when Kim Jong-il passed away, like it was very emotional, like when a great leader passes, and I'm still mourning the loss. You could still feel the void that was left behind. But Kim Jong-un, though, he's for lack of better words, he's not a leader, like his father was.
He is leading us right into hell. That's what
I think he is. He doesn't like to brag about this, but he actually met Dennis Rodman.
Yes.
So I feel much better because that guy is a basketball player. He looks like he has his life in order. So I think Dennis Rodman, if he has a connection with one basketball player, I'd want it to be Dennis Rodman. Just because Dennis Rodman, he's a fantastic man. He's 6'10". His hair has been every color. He has every piercing, every tattoo. Nothing surprises this guy.
Yeah.
So I think he's
definitely not Jewish.
He's not Jewish, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was on J-Date there, here and now.
Well, the thing with Dennis Rodman, though, it's he's greatest defensive player of all time, unarguably. So for North Korea to have him, I think that puts America at a slight disadvantage. As good of an offense we have, we can't compete with North Korea. So it's very. We live in very scary times right now.
No,
Shannon.
we
Very
don't.
scary
Nothing
times.
scary.
I'm actually
The world is at
petrified.
peace here.
I am scared. I am
You're
really
always scared.
I am petrified.
You're a scared person.
Gabe, hold me.
I woke up, he just wants out of the countess to cuddle. This guy, he doesn't like to say anything, but he's cuddled with thousands of women. Barely lost his virginity, but this guy could cuddle.
How do you get away with it?
How do I get away with it? What do you mean get away
Roger
with it?
Ailes died from accusations, and dear Bill O'Reilly is not there anymore. If I really cuddling, how do you get away with cuddling people and nobody gets upset?
Get away with it. You're making it seem like I'm doing something nefarious. What I'm doing is actually something wholesome. It's healing. What I'm doing is a mitzvah. They're not perfect strangers. A lot of times I'll get their name. They'll introduce themselves. We may even
How long's an average cuddle?
It varies. Sometimes I could cuddle with someone for, it could last 30 seconds. It could last 30 minutes. I'm not looking at my watch. It's about the experience more than, keeping score.
How do you keep track? How do you keep track of the woman you cuddled?
What are you, like Barbara Walters here?
No, I'm
you want my leftovers?
No, I'm just wondering if nobody wants to. All I'm saying, Mike Fon, is you're an incredible man because you're help people. People go to therapists, psychiatrists, medicines, go to massages, and the one thing they need is a cuddle from Mike Fon. I think depression would be down.
Speaking of depression, Gabe's actually writing a Broadway play right now about depression.
It's about a therapist's waiting room. It's about patients who hang out and socialize even when they don't have a session, and they just hang out. And he meets a girl he likes and hangs out in the waiting room. We all get to therapy a little early, but these people come to hang. I mean, they don't even have sessions that day. They're just here to hang, talk with other people. But that's not my. But my main dream is now, which I'm doing at the moment, is I own a comedy club on 78th and Broadway. We have shows every night of the week, and it's a great comedy club. And more about the comedy club, but again, let's go back to Dennis Rodman a little more, Mike. I know Mike.
That's a wonderful segue, but yes, calm down.
I want to ask about depression. Depression and comedians seem to go hand in hand.
Yes.
Jackie Gleason, no father, is a well-known story. Joan Rivers, Phyllis Diller,
Lenny Bruce,
Lucille Ball,
Bob Newhart.
Who was Jewish, by the way.
Who? Lucille Ball.
Lucille Ball. Yes. And Bob Newhart. Not Don Rickles.
Mort Saul.
Mort Saul was different. He made others depressed while he stayed depressed. Why? Jack Carter.
Herky Stiles.
Richard Pryor went all the way to drugs.
Jackie Kahane.
Why? Well, does the comedy come from the depression? Do you notice your performance in your club come in? None of them are smiling. None of them are joyous. None of them leap onto the stage, except they put on a certain new personality, and then they go back to their old personality. Am I right?
Oh, you're right. I think it's really fake it till you make it. I think a lot of comics, the reason they're so talented, unique, or different characters, because they all have a life behind them, and a lot of comedy does come from suffering. I know there's a lot, but also looking at the other sides of depression I think depression really, the reason when depression really went down with Jewish comics is when the Concord closed down. And I think that Concord had really good food in the hotel, and I think a lot of comics, just going to comedy clubs is not the same thing now.
It's going to be built up by the Indians now.
I'm going to be honest with you, Shannon, and I know you may not want to hear it, but I'm going to say it anyway. And Gabe, all due respect, I'm going to say it anyway. I found that a lot of pain and suffering, actually, in my own personal experience, comes from my comedy. A lot of people have walked into clubs, looking to see a show and feel uplifted and entertained, and after seeing one of my performances, they leave there more confused and more depressed than ever. So it has a negative effect sometimes, the comedy. Like they say, comedy could be the best medicine. Sometimes it could also be like the best disruptor of health. I found after people seeing me, there hasn't been a case study, but a lot of people's health actually deteriorated. In fact, I had one show I did down in Fort Lauderdale, and someone actually died, not from laughter. They actually just died. I think they were just so disappointed and upset at that this is what they're seeing, and they died, not of laughter. I've heard of people dying of laughter. This was died due to lack of laughter.
There's a famous joke where somebody who says, I was such a hit that they were still applauding me when the next headliner came on. And the comedian knows when he does well or when he doesn't do well, right?
Yeah.
How successful does a comic want to be when they're aiming for a profession and they get on the stage? Do they want to get a few laughs? Do they want to be received nicely? Do they want to have people left in confusion, as you say, which is hardly true? The exact opposite is the case. But do they want to be like Woody Allen, vomiting before every performance?
Is that so?
Yeah. Hey, for 2 years he vomited.
Well, he was also bulimic, but so we're not sure if it was nerves or if it was...
It developed from that.
Bulimic on halva? How much halva could you eat?
What does the comic expect? And if he's received well, but he doesn't...
Safety. In my club, you get safety. You come in. That means nobody will hurt you. You could say what you want on stage. You could be who you want to be, and you could get off. You could go on stage and curse people out for 10 minutes, and you could leave. Chances are you probably run out, get in the cab. People might want, but I think the stage is a safe place, and different comics want different things. Some people want groans, like a balls joke and groan, or a laughter, or some comics are trying to do a serious set, and some just want to get away from their wife for 20 minutes.
I feel being on stage is like being inside my mother's womb. It's warm, it's a safe environment. You don't want to leave, but eventually you have to.
Gets itchy.
Well, no, not always, but it's like feeling like being inside. Do you remember like being inside your mother's womb, that just you feel safe and you just want to be held and caressed, and then...
I was born not feeling safe.
Okay, well, every mother's womb is different.
I was born with a helmet on, actually.
I wish I had it.
My father wished he had the helmet on also. Too bad.
Well, when we were in high school, we had to wear helmets, but
high school they left me alone. They couldn't find me.
Oh, okay.
We went to high school together.
Yeah.
Mike
was the problem. They found both of you.
Yeah.
Combined, we both got a 900 on the SATs.
Yeah, not to brag, but I didn't need SATs to become a professional cuddler. That's the crazy thing. Had I known then what I know now, forget about it. I wouldn't have even taken the SATs. It's,
How long have you been cuddling for now? How many years, you think?
I've been cuddling for it has to be at least 6-7 years. I've cuddled with over 10,000 women.
Wow.
All women. There may have been 1 or 2 men that may have slipped in, but I couldn't even tell, so if you can't even tell, it doesn't
I was
count.
one of those.
No, well, that was, yes.
Tell me how the cuddle was.
I don't remember.
Yeah, no, but it's I do it. It's a charitable work, and a lot of the people out there today that are charging for cuddling, I think it's an abomination. It's a sin. It's a shanda. That's what it is. It's an embarrassment.
It's a wonderful career.
Career. It's a you can make a living.
You're very humble for a
I
caller.
get paid in the next world. The divine being up there, and I sing his praise. You get paid in the next world.
That brings up the next issue.
Yes.
You're an incredible man.
What if a comedian is religious and doesn't perform on certain nights or dates? In your terms of your club, you engage comics. Let's say one says, we're Jehovah's Witness, Seventh-day Adventists, we're Orthodox Jews, whatever you want. We're Islamic, whatever it is, we will not play on these nights, and they're a headliner or something. All right. Normally, the contract is the best night, Saturday, Friday night. I know that from my own experience.
Yes.
What do you do?
If a comic does it, our best nights are Friday and Saturday. But if a great comedian says, "I can't perform on Friday," we'll give you the spots on Saturday. Of course, that means that they're observing their holiday. It could be Shabbos, it could be Jewish people converting, or it could be anybody who's celebrating a holiday, or Friday night if Easter comes out, or there's a different day. I believe, and I respect people's Jewish beliefs and non-Jewish people's beliefs for a holiday. If you can't perform on that day, we don't take it against you. We're not going to add 8 days to a week. We might only give you, we may be able to give you an extra set on Saturday, but we can't cater around there.
No, I mean, will you hire them?
We will still hire them. Yes.
That's different.
Yeah.
That's different. But
Yeah.
my day, you
Yeah.
couldn't be in the band in Paramus unless you marched on Saturday. And Eric Fettman from the Post had to leave because he was religious at the time. And I had to perform at Uncle Freddie's or something in Fort Lauderdale on a Friday night, or I couldn't perform at all. That was the rule. And we're talking only 10 years ago.
There's something I need to say that hasn't been said, and it really should, and it's an absolute embarrassment that no one's talking about it. Seventh-day Adventists, they have been persecuted for years in show business, and no one's talking about it because they won't work on Sunday. It's the Lord's Day. So it turns out they're not getting hired. You have the Jews that are complaining, oh, we can't work Friday or Saturday, but you have the Seventh-day Adventists. Of course, the shows aren't great Sunday, but they have to travel back from the mountains, wherever they're coming from. So that throws a wrench into their plans. So the Seventh-day Adventists are really getting shafted. Me personally, as a Jew, I'm Jewish, I've been having a lot of difficulty with performing because of my religion, but I'm proud. I'm like the Sandy Koufax of Judaism. Not only do I not perform on Yom Kippur, I don't perform on weekends, I don't perform on weeknights. There's about 360 days a year where I won't perform.
You're one of the comedians that... You're one of those guys who only he'll perform 1-2 nights a week. He'll just do a theater. He doesn't do regular shows now.
Yeah.
With all your cuddling fans, he just does a theater.
The son-in-law of Rabbi Riskin of Lincoln Square Synagogue was in the show Barnum when Mike Burstein came in and took the place of the creator of the role. He insisted on rehearsals on the Sabbath and on the Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, and that was it for the entertainment career of the son-in-law of Rabbi Riskin. He went to Israel. Now, you get obviously a cut in income if you're a performer and you can't perform on the peak nights. But who created those nights to be the peak nights?
The Lord, Hashem,
Jews,
God, the God in heaven above.
Hollywood, Jews in the business, Jews who own the clubs. They decided what would be the week and what would be the night and how you had to. There wasn't Christians who had these clubs. Maybe the organized crime had these clubs, but the ones managing them, the ones hiring the talent, the ones that. We can't blame other people for, and now you still have Jewish owners and Jewish managers and so on who are dictating when you're going to have to perform.
If it was up to me, the big night would be Monday night.
Why is that?
Why? People go to work for their first day. They were all stressed after working. They come home, they hear a joke, they could come to the club, they get a cuddle from Mike. There's just a lot after a stressful day on Monday, your first weekday.
I've actually, Shannon, I've never told anybody this, and Gabe, I love you, we've known each other I've never told anybody this, but I'm going to tell it to you here on national television. I actually thought about becoming a Scientologist. I dabbled in it a little bit. I went to some of the meetings, went to a party or two up in the hills, and I put in an application. I had my 2 co-sponsors, my first and my secondary, and I had the interview, and and they told me I didn't have enough acting credits. I had like an under 5 and a couple of stuff, but I didn't have enough credits, so I was not able to become a Scientologist. That being said, I consider myself a born-again Jew, where not like those born-again. I'm a born-again Jew. I found my faith, and I practice. And if I don't work Friday, Saturday, so be it. It's, hell, I won't even work Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's,
It's interesting because I know Mike, we grew up together, went to high school together, but before becoming a club owner, I wanted to become a mohel. And so I was a mohel for about a year and a half, and this is the thing being a mohel is I would always come late.
You want to go that route?
You come late?
Are you sure you want to go that
I thought you would show up. When would you show up?
I was going to keep the show clean.
No, that's not what I meant. No, mohel. I used to miss. I just came in time for tip-off.
Wonderful. So we have to give credit to Rabbi Naftali Citron of the Carlebach Synagogue, who just hosted, thanks to your generosity, the Carlebach Night, a Jewish show with the daughter of Charles Grodin, an old friend of mine, and Mike Fine.
I was on the show. It was a wonderful show, performing for the Carlebach Shul. Rabbi Citron, that's right. I'm sure he's at home watching.
No, he's teaching Talmud or something like that.
Talmud.
And Alon Gold and others. And I want to take credit for creating the first Jewish comedy show years ago and creating the amateur comedies of attorneys and dentists and wackos and all the rest of that stuff at Stand Up New York on the West Side. And we partnered, Naftali and I, in creating Clergy to Laugh With. And I'm so thankful that you're there to continue the tradition. Give us some of your favorite comics.
Famous comic?
Your favorite comics?
My favorite, Mussolini, but people didn't consider him to be a comic. I considered him to be more of like a satirist.
He was hysterical on TV.
Do you ever see him? The way they hung him up?
And the way great. Chaplin impersonated him in a great.
No, I liked all the old ones.
It was a different guy impersonated him. Very famous. Oki. Jack Oki, who went.
I like W.C. Fields. I loved Red Buttons, Milton Berle, Gene Balos, Mickey Freeman, Jackie Mason, Herky Stiles.
Who's alive that you like?
Who's alive? That's a good question.
What about you?
Pat Cooper.
Pat Cooper doesn't perform anymore. He was just on the show.
Oh, okay. I love Pat Cooper.
My favorite comedian?
Alive.
Alive, I would have to say Brian McFadden. Or Yvonne Gold.
Who?
Or Michael Fine.
Yeah, not in that order. But I will tell you, and Shannon should get a lot of credit for what he does with the Carlebach Shul over there and for Stand Up New York for hosting the event to raise money for the Carlebach Shul. It's a great shul. It's a historic temple. And it's quite amazing that, they've been suffering over the years trying to raise funds, and membership has been down, and they have not been able to attract new members like they used to, which is kind of crazy because, ISIS could attract new members, but the Carlebach Shul can't. I find that to be crazy. ISIS could get people traveling from 14 countries away to come join, but Carlebach Shul can't get people from Central Park
People are getting older in their steps. I told Rabbi get a ramp, and I think he would bring in more members.
Take a joke. But we have a minute left, a minute and a half. Tell a joke, each one of you. I put you on the spot.
I'm not wearing a yarmulke now, but I love wearing a yarmulke in the city. I just love doing it. I'm Jewish. I love wearing a yarmulke in the city because the homeless never bother to ask me for money. Wearing a yarmulke in the city, you walk right by the homeless, they give an easy pass. They point to their cup, you point to your yarmulke, they give you the thumbs up.
How could you make jokes in a time like this with the country in shambles when you have statues being torn down and babies ripped out of mothers' wombs? You have hospitals being destroyed. You have homes being plundered and looted, and stores, and you have the electric magnetic pulse about to strike and take out the entire civilization.
And we lost half of Antarctica. How does a person reach you?
Well, when you have global cooling going on right now, you could reach me at Mike Fine Comedy or Cuddlestar.com.
And you?
You can reach me at GabrielWald@AOL.com.
And Stand Up New York.
On
great-
78th and Broadway, Amsterdam. We have shows every night of the week. And
What times?
during the week, we have shows. We have
Yeah,
shows.
no,
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock every day of the week. And also on the weekends, 8 and 10.
Shannon, I want to give you a big wet hug right after this show.
Well, you can make it a little less wet and a little more big. Last time, your arms reached somebody else.
Oh, yeah.
I want to thank you both, stars of your own right, for coming on for the conversation. This is Shannon Taylor, your host. I want to say good night to our listeners. I want you to go piss on every statue you find and get the birds and the dogs on the statues and have a wonderful week of peace. This is the conversation signing off.
How was it?
You were great, baby.
I had this joke.
We're still on. We're
One
still
second.
on.
Are we still on?
We're still on.
So-
Okay. So I can talk about the joke that I said before.